welcome to another episode of Togatech. Today we're looking at the Thrustmaster HOTAS X. This was donated to me by a good friend and it's going as part of my flight simulator. Now the HOTAS X is a great controller. You've got the throttle controls on this side, thrust controls here, and you've obviously got your stick here for directional control. Plenty of buttons on there for doing other features depending on what piece of software you're using it for. I'm going to actually be using this for FSX and for DCS World, Digital Combat Systems World. Now it's a brilliant joystick, and at the moment you can use it as a combined stick like this, the two set together, or it does actually separate. So you can have your thrust control one side and your directional control the other. The only problem I find with it is the length of this cable. It's very limiting. When I'm trying to fit this to my sim rig, which you can see a build of in a previous video, if you just check out the link to in the description below, this is limited. I can't get this on the two pedestals where the controls fit. So what I'm going to be doing today is I'm actually going to be extending this middle cable between the two here. So I'm going to cut this cable and I'm going to patch in another piece of cable. Now what's inside this I have no idea as yet. I'm going to cut into it and have a look, see how many cables we need, and then I'll be able to decide what type of cable we can use to patch in the cable to extend it so it fits on the two pedestals. So bear with me and we'll see how we get on. Right, this SCART lead seems a bit more favourable. It's got all different colours in there. There are quite a few blacks, but I'm going to have to try and designate them. So what I'm going to do is just move the HOTAS out the way for a second so I can prepare this SCART lead cable. Move this out the way. Put them down there. Right, and we've got our SCART lead here, which we're going to need to snip away a few cables so we can start using it. So let's a pair of snips now. That can come off there. That's our ground one. Yeah, that's the ground wire. So that's good. Let's snip that off. A pair of snips now. Yeah, I think when you're doing something like this, preparation is the key, and it's well, I've gone wrong straight away. Right, got a pair of snips here now, and just cut away these cables. So there's a few that are all the same. So do check out my other video on the flight sim rig. What I wanted to do was to build a rig that wasn't aircraft specific, so I could fly both commercial and combat aircraft on the same rig. And that's how I managed to do it out of cheap CLS timber. Yeah, do check it out and give me your comments as well. I'd love to hear from you. Alright, okay, look at all of these, crikey. So what you've pretty much got to try and come up with is looking at the colours on your HOTAS, try and match the colours on the HOTAS to the colours on this SCART cable or whatever cable you're using. Try and keep them the same, and then whatever's left after that you have to utilise, but we'll then write down what colours we need to do the other end. I would imagine this on the other end is exactly the same, so we'll be able to match on that end. What I'm going to do is cut up some bits of heat shrink, which I have here, some heat shrink, cut up enough just to go over each end of the cable. So if I cut 16 of them up, got my I've got a soldering iron here. Sort of jobbing the stand. I don't know if you can see that. There we are. So that's what I'm going to solder the cables together with. I've also got a little handy arm. I'll put that in there. Handy arm to hold the cables in place while I solder them. A little magnifying glass so I can see what's going on. Little light on top there. Look at that. That's nice. Right, let me see. Let's get part of the HOTAS now. Because I haven't actually cut them in half yet. They're still joined. So what I'm going to do now is sever the cable now. You can see that through there. I'm going to sever the cable that joins the two HOTASes, the two halves of the HOTAS, sorry, and start trying to solder up one end. There's the one that's already broken, that one there, it's broken there, isn't it? I'm going to cut that in the middle. Here it goes. All in for a penny, in for a pound now. And that's that gone. Right, so let's take the thrust part, the thrust control part of the HOTAS now, and see if we can start soldering these wires together. Unfortunately, what happened here was I found the SCART cable was quite bulky, and having to try and use the common or earth braiding with the paired cables just didn't turn out that stable. It worked, but it wasn't very stable, and the cable being so thick and with the joins at both ends, I had nowhere to put them. So regrettably, I came off of that method, and I've gone with method 2. Now, method 2 is using, because there's 16 cables inside the HOTAS controls, and I had a couple of spare Ethernet cables, the RJ45 cables, and each of those have got 8 cables running in each sheathed one, in each individual cable, so that gives me the 16 cores that I need for the setup. Also, it's handy that they're both different colours, one's blue and one's yellow, so that gives me also an easy reference to find which of the 8 pairs are in each sheath. And if you take a look at these still photographs, having opened the bases of the HOTAS, there's plenty of room inside the case to hold all the connections, all the solder joints to the original wiring, so I don't have to 3D print an external box, which again is ideal. These 2 cables, being far more flexible than the SCART lead, also allowed me to be able to push them inside the case and make a far neater job. Here you can see I've already completed the throttle side using the 2 Ethernet cables, but the method is completely the same. So I'm now going to go on to the directional control side, the pitch and roll side. That all the cables fitted in neatly inside the throttle cable, inside the throttle control. And this is the method, just repeated again. I've got the 2 ends of the Ethernet cable, I've still got the plugs on, so all I'm going to do now is snip the plugs off the end of each cable. Cut back the sheathing to expose the cores. Having made a note on the first unit that was soldered up on the throttle control part, I've got a list of what cables connected to what, so the colour codings, keeping the colour codings the same. Now strip back the Ethernet cable here, exposing the 4 pairs, the 8 cables inside, and then it was just a simple method of getting the original cable, soldering the 2 parts together, insulating them, and then refitting them back in the case. Here I am just opening up the base of the directional control part of the HOTAS. It's worth bearing in mind to make a note of the screws, because there are actually different lengths of screws in the base here, just to make sure they all go back in the same place afterwards. You can see there's a large knob on the base of this unit, which is a tensioner, which is very good. It allows you to tension the amount of resistance in the control stick. Here I am just making a note of the position of the screws and what length of screws goes in which area. I have removed the grommet that holds the original cable in place so that I can make a larger hole so that I can pass the two Ethernet cables through into the base of the control stick. So you can see there's a large amount of area inside the base, which is perfectly adequate for us to join the cables and put all the joints inside the base. Just stripping back the wires now. The original wiring is very fine stranded cable. It also has like a nylon thread running through it, so when you're twisting it it's quite awkward with a nylon thread, but when you solder it that nylon thread burns away. There's my handy little solder stand there. The first of the Ethernet cables, the blue one. And strip back the pairs, match them up and solder them. It's quite a simple method, so I'll just speed through the video now and hopefully we'll get to the end and you can see the final results. Well, here we have the whole thing soldered up now, both cables. Just going to fit those into the base. I've removed again the weight plates inside this throttle control to give me some more room. So a large area off to one side that's free. Try trying to ensure that I bring the cable in where the original cable used to come in from. As you can see there, I'm just going to widen that up a bit so that I can get both of the Ethernet cables through. You want to make sure when you put this in that it doesn't interfere with any of the potentiometers or any of the movements or springs that are inside there. Just gently put it into position and try and flatten everything down. Took a little bit of manoeuvring. Just ensure that the base will still go back in and lock in place. See, it's still catching. So I'm going to have to cut this little tab out here. So that little tab there needs to be removed. Because the new cables are obviously twice as thick as the original. So a little pair of snips, just snip that back. There you go. Now all that's left to do is to put the screws back in. Obviously from my notes earlier, making a note of where the large or the longest screw goes, the medium screws and the short screws. And there you have it. It's all the cables joined up now, all neatly placed inside the base. So you can have the two units together, and I've got a nice long cable to separate them that will go across my sim rig on the platforms that I built for it. Well, thanks for watching this video. If you have any comments or any suggestions for future videos, please leave them in the section below, and don't forget to like, subscribe and hit that notification bell to catch your future videos. Okay, well, thanks again for watching Togatech, and I'll see you next time.